She's a hard-working janitor.
Look, Mom, I told you. I can't come home for the holidays.
Can somebody else clean that damn building?
Drop it, okay?
He's a pianist who met an untimely end. And this holiday party is about to get loopy.
My name is Simon. My name is Simon, by the way. And you are?
Wait, so he's a ghost stuck in a time loop repeating the same 10-minute interval until he can solve his unfinished business?
I've been dying for some of the chef's cod.
I mean, he's incredible.
He's going to show her the true meaning of Christmas spirit.
I recognize that song. I thought we said no presents.
I didn't know there were so many cryptids in our waters.
Okay, octopuses are very, very smart, and they're really good at learning human behavior.
Definitely think I saw something moving in those trees over there.
Its main predator is the Sasquatch.
Wait, if it's in there, is it gonna kill me?
So it's watching us.
See if we can figure out what the heck that was. I guess the hunt continues.
We have a fantastic episode lined up. I think I'm gonna go out on 8 limbs and say it might be one of our best yet.
I think this episode really sucks.
Yeah, I hope we're not barking up the wrong tree.
Definitely going on a deep dive through some interesting ideas here.
We're gonna check in and see how everyone's, well, cracking. On this episode, we are going to be unraveling aquatic cryptids in the Pacific Northwest.
Ancient and modern mythologies all over the world tell of giant aquatic creatures lurking in the depths of the sea.
The ocean is so massive that it's not only possible that somewhere within this deep expanse exists something as yet undiscovered by humans. It is an absolute certainty.
Over a dozen of the Pacific Northwest's many lakes and channels are reportedly home to giant, serpent-like creatures, all with consistent physical descriptions, and often reminiscent of prehistoric beings long thought extinct.
We set out to discover the truth, and to bring to the surface what these creatures really are.
The Pacific Northwest has a really rich history of aquatic creatures. I'll be headed up to Lake Chelan to check out some big beasties that are rumored to be in the area.
I headed over to the Olympic Peninsula because when I heard that tree octopuses exist, I decided I need to try and see for myself.
From what I hear, Tristan, things got interesting in the rainforest.
The first step was to figure out how to call the tree octopus. Ash, if you were gonna try and lure an octopus, what kind of sound would you make?
Oh man, that's a really good question. Maybe like a bloop 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 bloop.
I guess I was more thinking about what they sound like when they're moving, so I was thinking sort of like a. Well, there are so many reports of different cryptids in the Pacific Northwest that we had to focus in on just a few, so we're only gonna hit the big ones. No pun intended. Also not factually accurate, as you will see. But up first is a big one. Tacoma Narrows Bridge octopus, which is apparently a giant Pacific octopus said to be a 600-pound king octopus. And I want to know how much of that is the crown. I mean, is it like rifling through sunken treasure ships being like, I like this diamond? Boop. It's said that this giant octopus lives in the wreckage of the original Tacoma Narrows Bridge, which collapsed in November of 1940 in a windstorm.
The bridge, called Galloping Gertie, was the third largest suspension bridge in the world for the 4 months that it was standing. A 600-foot section of the bridge crashed into the Sound, reminiscent of, well, the octopus's 600-foot diameter. Now, exactly. Some say the octopus lives wrapped around the remains of the bridge, and others, like myself, say it pulled the bridge down itself.
Oh, well, I mean, it was only 1940, the dawning of Photoshop, but they did have to Photoshop out the giant tentacles grabbing it and shaking it.
What exactly is your job?
I staff the toll booth on the bridge to Tacoma.
Do you like your job?
Yeah, I was really excited to work here. I got my degree in civil engineering from UW Tacoma, and we talked a lot about the original bridge, Gallup and Gertie. A lot of the people I come in contact with aren't like in a very good mood. You know, nobody likes to pay tolls.
What's your favorite part of your job?
The view, definitely. I mean, how many people get to look out over Puget Sound, you know, from their office every day?
What's your least favorite part?
Well, it's kind of silly, but, you know the legend of the king octopus? Yeah, I know, like, octopuses are generally really gentle, and, like, it probably doesn't even exist, but, I still hate to think about it lurking underneath me.
Have you ever actually seen the king octopus?
I mean, sometimes I see something and I, like, tell myself, you know, there's a lot of octopus around here. You know, you don't really know how long that tentacle is. It's hard to see from a distance. It could be, like, you know, like a totally normal giant octopus. So how long is that tentacle? Like, how big is that octopus?
That fear sounds like it could really impede your ability to do your job.
I try not to think about it. I've been to see the giant Pacific octopus at Point Defiance Zoo a bunch of times just to try and get over it. But it's just hard when all you know about something is like that tentacle just waving at you, almost like it's taunting you, almost like it's. Yeah, some days are tough. That's all.
Well, thanks for talking to us and good luck.
Next up is Caddy, the Cadborosaurus. There are hundreds of reported sightings in the last 200 years of Caddy. And 2 live specimens have also been claimed to be caught, as well as a dozen or so remains that might belong to a Cadborosaurus.
Caddy is commonly described as having a head that resembles that of a horse or camel, and a long snake-like body with short fingers. Some believe it's a living prehistoric whale, but most explanations classify sightings as an oarfish or maybe a group of sea lions. Every elongated animal has been put forth as an explanation for Caddy, but no proposed animal has ever matched the description.
Hi, Dr. Wetterholm. Thank you so much for talking with us. We're very excited to have an archaeologist on the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Please, call me Samantha. These cryptids are really kind of a pet project of mine, so it's no worries at all. But actually, I do have a bit of a correction for you. I'm actually a paleontologist, not an archaeologist. I'm over at the Burke Museum here in Seattle, Washington.
Right, and what would you say the likelihood is that these are really prehistoric creatures that have survived undiscovered for this long?
I mean, well, there's my answer as a scientist, and then there's my answer as someone who just really, really, really likes dinosaurs. But I guess as a scientist, it's not out of the realm of possibility. A lot of Washington state was actually underwater for most of the Mesozoic era. It's mostly bivalves and mollusks, like you see here. We actually, we found the first dinosaur fossil here in 2015. It was a small theropod related to raptors.
And obviously the Loch Ness Monster has been called a plesiosaur, and several cryptids like the Cadborosaurus could fit that description too, but what about the weirder ones, like the ones described as dragon-like?
There's always going to be a certain amount of mythology that goes into things like this. What any given prehistoric creature looks like is up for debate, even by scientists. So it's hard to say for sure that a plesiosaur even looked like the pictures that we've created of them.
All right, well, this all sounds very convincing to me.
Yeah, I mean, paleontology is a rigorous discipline. Like, gone are the days when you could just kind of find a mammoth footprint near a volcano and be like, oh, it's a new species of mammoth. There is some really interesting scholarship in the academic community about this. I remember there was an old journal by Algernon Barrayclough about
Sorry, did you say Barrayclough? Like Dr. Al, he's one of our consultants. He came in the field with us to look for a sea monster in Lake Washington.
Oh, wow! Oh my gosh, you know him? Oh, that's amazing. I read one of his old journals when I was in like undergrad or something. It's great that he's still up and running, because I kind of would have thought he'd be like retired by now.
I think he's only a couple years older than me. He's just an old soul.
I guess. Still sounds exciting. Oh, I would love to come in the fields. I mean, even if I never gather enough evidence to like publish a paper, I would be happy just to see one of those creatures myself, just to know, you know?
Okay, well, thank you very much for talking with us today, Samantha.
No problem at all. Thanks for coming by.
When most of us think of sea creatures, we're all thinking of one thing: the Kraken.
Let me drop some Kraken knowledge on you. In medieval times, they used to envision them as a giant whale or a giant crab.
Modern understanding of the image of the Kraken was actually solidified in 1869 by the serial novel 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. The Kraken is real, and frankly, it'll be appearing in the new Key Arena in 2021.
I mean, it is definitely an intimidating mascot. Can you imagine a hockey player with 8 arms? You would never score a goal on that guy.
Can you tell us your name and what you do?
Come.
Okay, thanks. It's nice to meet you, Captain.
Oh, well said.
Okay, so we wanted to ask if you had any weird stories from your time at sea, like any weird creatures you might have seen.
Like pitfall, and there's harbor seal, and beautiful seal.
I'm sorry, what?
The cliff wall, harbor seal at the bottom of until.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Betwixt you and Wham, what are you mad? Your sea legs.
Okay, well, would you say you believe in things like the Kraken or other aquatic cryptids?
I ain't got a goal for brains, I fear.
No cryptids? What about pirates? We have a friend who's really interested in Francis Drake. Do you know much about him?
Francis Drake, I'm not 300 years, I don't know.
300 years old? No, he's like 28. He's just an old soul. Thank you so much for your time. You've been very helpful.
Hello, I'm sorry to meet again.
Another aquatic cryptid we're going to be talking about is, well, the Ogopogo. It's a long-necked Canadian monster. Now, the Ogopogo has a head that resembles a snake, sheep, horse, seal, or alligator. It has a dark hump and greenish-black skin.
How can you simultaneously resemble a snake, a sheep, a horse, a seal, or an alligator? Is it like...
It'd probably be something like... Now, otters often swim in a row, which can be mistaken for a contiguous serpent creature.
There is a $10,000 reward for anyone who produces visible evidence of Augie's existence.
We actually reached out to our friend, the dear Dr. Al, to talk more about aquatic cryptids.
Hey, Dr. Al, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me back on the program.
Doctor, could you just tell us a little something about different aquatic cryptids?
Of course. Well, oceans have always been mysterious. Think back to all the songs and poetry, all the novels that have been written about the mystery and the majesty of the sea. It's because we simply are unable and have always been unable to plumb the depths of what really exists down there. Now, even to this very day, we have not managed to map all of the ocean's floor, much less know for certain what may exist down there. In fact, even now, ships are lost continually. Over 24 large ships are lost every year.
What do you know about the Kraken? Can you shed some light on why there's all these different versions of what it might be?
For many centuries, the word Kraken was actually used as a euphemism for the word whale, because of course, during this time period, sailors were often capsized when they encountered whales that were breaching. They thought that just by speaking the word whale, that was enough to actually summon the creature close to the ship and cause the imminent disaster. So instead, they started calling it Kraken. Of course, that didn't end the capsizing, and perhaps in fact was summoning something much, much worse.
I'm wondering if there's a modern interpretation of these kind of, stories.
I think the most compelling piece of evidence is in fact what is commonly known as the Bermuda Triangle, that can positively swallow ships at an astonishing rate. No trace, no signal, not even an SOS message. Now, I know that some of you are going to say, well, that's an area that's rife with tropical storms, and Tristan, you would be right. But at the same time, there is an inescapable pattern. Not only do ships vanish there, not only do signals seem to warp and bend in ways that we simply have no explanation for, it's almost as if something happened to be living there, and it considered that area of the ocean its sovereign domain. Well, perhaps it was defending it.
Well, Doctor, some people actually believe that these creatures may be dinosaurs that managed to survive this long. Do you really think that something so old can be living among us without anyone finding out?
I think that if anything that old were still around, it would have learned how to survive by the skin of its teeth, the sharpness of its wits, and its ability to find places to hide that allowed it to be camouflaged in plain sight.
What should we do if we actually manage to make contact with one of these creatures?
Just because there are creatures that may be open to human connection doesn't mean that all of them are. For every creature that's fine with being caught in a blurry piece of footage, there's another one that takes that as a serious offense. If they're as old and as powerful as they seem to be, well, provoking them would be a serious mistake.
Is this a pizza that I see before me? The cheese slice in the box? If I profane with my anchovy slice thy...
Can I just have my pizza?
Fare thee well.
After researching all the various cryptids in the bodies of water around the Pacific Northwest, we were surprised to find that there wasn't one in Lake Washington.
We went to see if we could find one.
Wouldn't it be so cool if we were the ones to discover an actual cryptid in Lake Washington?
I love the idea that maybe there are things out there that we could discover, and that's the reason why I do this, right? Is because I want so desperately to be proved wrong one day.
We ventured out into the heart of Lake Washington by way of the precarious and isolated Marsh Island. We theorize that if Lake Washington is home to a large sea creature, it would be a massive serpentine creature, likely similar to the other nearby denizens of the deep. The bottom of Lake Washington is home to a wide assortment of things, ranging from entire underwater forests to wrecks of 7 warplanes, over 400 boats, and a dozen train cars still loaded with coal and nearly 150 years old. In order to discover what really dwells in the depths of Lake Washington, we were determined to take a closer look.
We looked for telltale signs of a large creature living in the lake, like fissures along the dock, large unexplained ripples, or strange behaviors of smaller animals.
Val went out on a few limbs on this one, as most of these creatures are not supposed to be particularly social.
Interestingly, there have been sightings of massive sturgeon in Lake Washington, apparently 6 to 7 feet in length and white in color.
We brought our expert pal, Dr. Al, with us so that if we did see something, he could help us categorize it.
As we know, sightings of large sea creatures are often explained away with sturgeon. That said, their bottom-dwelling nature and relative rarity in the Pacific Northwest make them an iffy explanation, at best. We didn't find anything, but as we learned from Dr. Al, These beasts may have become adept at hiding in plain sight, and if the 3 Navy minesweepers are any indication, the inky black water of Lake Washington appears to be a popular place to hide.
There are, of course, other aquatic large creatures that we're going to be discussing here today. One of them is the Lake Chelan dragon. In the search of the Lake Chelan dragon, I headed over to Lake Chelan. Now, this winged alligator snake lives in Washington's deepest lake. Tristan, did you know that was Lake Chelan was the deepest lake?
Oh yeah, did you not know before you went out there?
I actually didn't. A little bit scary, but oh wow, Lake Chelan is also the 3rd deepest lake in the U.S.
Yeah, 1,486 feet underneath you. No safety net, just a winged alligator snake.
I definitely think I saw something moving those.
Waiting to.
I didn't get a very good look at it.
Gobble you up.
I think I'm gonna get a little bit closer.
Maybe it spits acid.
Okay, it wouldn't spit acid.
Are you so sure?
It might spit acid. I actually don't. I'm not sure. But anyway, here is what we do know about the Lake Chelan dragon. The dragon has the legs and body of an alligator, heads and eyes of a serpent, and a long scaly tail and bat wings. The skin is soft as velvet, but is unable to be cut by human tools or burnt by fire. And some people say that it's related to Nessie.
Legend has it that an egg was brought over by a Scottish sailor who then capsized in Chelan in 1812. And it was first sighted in 1892 when it attacked a man who was swimming and then flew away.
Okay, we're so excited to be here talking to a park ranger at the Olympic National Park.
Hey guys, I'm Cherie Gladstone. Welcome to the park. Happy to have you today.
What is the most common question you get asked?
Hiking trails, definitely. Like, people want to know, are they kid friendly? Are they dog friendly? Am I gonna hyperventilate? But then the second one would be about bears. Are there black bears?
Are there bears?
Yeah, there's black bears.
Tell us about the tree octopus.
Definitely a question I get asked the least. Yeah, there are tree octopuses here in the park. You can especially find them in the summer when they are beginning their spawning cycle. So
what about seeing one during the other times of the year?
that is a bit trickier. They're good at camouflage. They blend in pretty well with conifers.
What are the signs that there might be an octopus in a tree?
They like to approach the bark. It's really soft and feels good on their tentacles. And you want to look for sucker marks because that's an additional way they're going to hydrate.
What should you do if you find one?
You want to leave it alone. Okay, they are wildlife. They're delicate. And they don't have a lot of ways to protect themselves other than their wits.
Okay, thanks so much, Cherie.
Thank you. Hope you learned something and stay safe out there.
Before they could get their feet wet, Ash and Tristan undertook a challenge from one of our fans to draw what they expected to find on our expedition.
Let's do this.
Let's do it.
I gotta say, I think you went for a more realistic approach, Tristan.
That's because all of them are just the giant squid.
That's not true. This one's a tree octopus. It's much smaller. And another thing, they're terrestrial, unlike giant octopuses, which are aquatic.
The tree octopus is native here in the Pacific Northwest in temperate rainforests like the one we're standing in right now. It makes its home pretty high up in coniferous trees, just like this one right behind me. And it really only descends to dip its porous skin into water. So there's a river right below here, making this a really ideal location.
They're pretty small. They're only like a foot across, and they're pretty well camouflaged. So we're gonna have to keep our eyes peeled. Let's do a quick size comparison between the tree octopus and some other more everyday creatures. The Pacific Northwest tree octopus also will change its color and its texture to blend into the trees.
That's a pretty common trait amongst octopuses, isn't it?
And they can change color based only on their mood. Blue is sad, red is happy. If they're feeling scared, generally they morph into whatever their background is, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, and then don't cuttlefish do that too? Or are cuttlefish basically just octopuses?
I think a cuttlefish looks somewhere in between a squid and octopus.
One thing I know for sure about cuttlefishes is that they just really want someone to love them.
So they have a couple different main predators, larger animals, raccoons, but its main predator is the Sasquatch. And it actually seems to harvest tree octopus eggs deliberately. So octopuses can actually recognize individuals and seem to prefer some people over others. So tree octopuses have 3 hearts, so they definitely prefer nice, warm, loving, and funny individuals.
The Pacific Northwest tree octopus was actually the center of an internet literacy scandal. In 1998, Lyle Zapato created a website cataloging the creature's history and recent sightings.
This website was so well done that it inspired jealousy and was lauded as a hoax. It has been used on internet literacy tests since then to study how critical students are of information found online.
See, it sounds a lot like the North American house hippo, which was similarly covered up by the Canadian government using a coordinated media campaign.
Like internet literacy tests are good, right? We should all be critical of the information we're consuming, especially online.
Well, I'd absolutely agree with that, but we would know more about the tree octopus if the government didn't try to cover it up.
Let's break into the government files.
I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
Hi, Davis. Thank you so much for talking with us.
Hey there. Of course, it's no trouble at all. I'm honestly really happy that you reached out to me. No one ever really wants to talk about the tree octopus, so...
You didn't make this site, right?
No, I maintain it these days. Lyle, my friend, actually made it.
So, you believe the tree octopus is real, obviously.
Believe, yes. The tree octopus is like any other endangered species, you know?
I've never seen a textbook mention a tree octopus.
Big textbook don't want you to know about the tree octopus, so no one's heard of it. I would say that the tree octopus has been at least known about since the late 1800s, and unfortunately the species has been in decline since then with, logging at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution and all.
Why do you think people are reluctant to believe in them now?
I think people don't want to acknowledge something that they don't understand. Tell me, have you seen a tree octopus? No? Have you seen a tapir? No. That doesn't mean it don't exist. That just means you haven't seen it before.
Well, have you seen a tree octopus in real life?
First off, yes, they're real, and Bubbles, stop that. Sorry, once Bubbles, come on now, get off that plant. You know my mother sent me. Hey, no squirting, Bubbles. Bubbles, stop that. Yeah, you turn red. You should be ashamed of yourself. I am so sorry about that. Where were we with...
No, that about wraps it up for us today. Thank you again. Have a good night.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
The next step was to attempt to use a food lure to tempt out the tree octopus.
The tree octopus's diet consists of many small land creatures, mice and squirrels, as well as amphibious brethren, such as frogs.
Alright, we'll check on that in a little bit. And we're just coming to see if anything took it. Great.
Saying science.
Okay. I was just gonna.
What happened?
I don't know. That's weird. Okay.
There were 2 frogs. You seem a little alarmed.
No, there's nothing. Okay, octopuses are very, very smart, and they're really good at learning human behavior. Like, I read a story once about an aquarium where the octopus learned the guard's route every night, so it would sneak out of its tank to go and hunt in the other tanks while the guard was busy.
Yeah,
so what
but
I
the
think
real
has really
concerning thing
happened...
is how did it get another gun?
I think we should check our backpacks. Okay, shh.
Okay, I didn't see anything.
Our next expert that we're bringing in is a very dear friend. We met him out on one of our previous investigations. He definitely has helped us through some hairy situations in the past.
Well, that's right. And you know, it is great that we have him as a resource. I really feel like he leaves behind just such a huge footprint in our search for cryptids and whatnot.
He has agreed to speak with us on condition of anonymity.
Without further ado, let's hear from our tree octopus capturing specialist.
First off, how have you been?
Oh, well, it's been all right. Yeah. Kind of lonely, you know. Pandemic doesn't change too much when you live out in the middle of nowhere to begin with, but
Maybe we'll come for a visit longer next time when we're out in the peninsula.
that would be nice. Yeah, you should do that.
Okay, talk to us about tree octopuses.
Okay, basically they'll eat anything smaller than them. Anything bigger than them, you know, they're gonna go the other way. It's like if I were a small raccoon and you were a larger raccoon, you know, I'd be out of there, you know?
How would one catch a tree octopus? Say a large raccoon, or just an interested third party?
Huh. You know, once you find them, they're not too hard to just grab. They're like a foot long. Oh, they can still, you know, climb pretty fast, so a few hard shakes and you can knock them down nice and easy.
We tried to lure one with a gummy frog.
Very clever. You know, they can smell that only through their suckers. You can't really tell if it's fake until they touch it. How'd it work for you?
A weird thing happened where when we came back to check on the frog, we found a second one right next to it.
What?
We left for a while. We came back an hour.
Oh, no!
What's going on? Why is this bad?
Have you ever heard of the bat squatch?
What's a bat squatch? Sounds made up.
It's not.
Wait, I don't think I
I said too much. It knows we're here now. It's been lovely to catch up with you, as always. I really gotta go. My roommates!
Should I go too? So tree octopuses only mate once a year, making their offspring a pretty limited supply. And it really only leaves its home to dip itself in the water and to spawn its eggs over in the Hood Canal.
Octopuses spend most of their energy caring for their eggs, and, well, tree octopuses are more social than their purely aquatic counterparts.
So to take advantage of the fact that tree octopuses are excellent parents, we decided that we would try and lure one out by making it think that its babies were in danger. So we have a pretty good idea that there might be a tree octopus in this tree right here, this cedar. So we're gonna lay another trap. We have these little dummy octopuses. We're gonna hide them there and try to make the octopus believe that these are its babies, that it's left there. Help! Help! Mommy! Help!
So, Tristan, what did you think?
I have to say that I was really dreaming that I would get a little 1-foot octopus to take home with me, to live in my succulent garden, like that Beatles song. And I'm pretty bummed.
Well, it's true, we didn't successfully catch a tree octopus, but just because we didn't see one doesn't mean they don't exist, right? And not just for the tree octopus, but also for, all the other aquatic creatures that we covered today.
Wow, this is rare. Guys, is rare. Look beneath the surface. I sound like a Hallmark card on this spot.
Are we there yet?
A sound a squirrel makes, like a chirp, 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 chirp.
Is it true that tree octopuses are involved in human trafficking?
No, it is not true. I meant traffic made by humans, such as highways and roads and paths.